Hi. So I never, ever, ever intended to even touch this topic ever with like a 10-foot pole. And then it became really, really clear that I probably should share some things that I've learned and some things that we've experienced as a family. I had a dream last night about doing this exact thing. And I woke up this morning like, oh, heck no, God, I'm not doing it. I'm not going there. That is too stressful. I am going to blow up social media and I don't want to. That was my conversation with God when I woke up. But then I just had a couple friends like simultaneously post things or tag me, thank you, Shara, in something. And I feel like just what I'm reading and like I just have to share this. And you may not agree with me. And I am not even sure if I would have agreed or believed what I'm going to talk about if it did not happen to me and my family. Okay? So I need you to keep an open mind, and I need you to remember that I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years. I have practiced Western medicine with the best. I have a wonderful, wonderful career. Okay? I've worked with incredible people, smart people, people I respect so much. And I've done some really, really cool things in my career, been on the cutting edge of new technology and surgery and treatments and, all that really, really fun, cool stuff. And I've always also had the ability to ask really good questions. I am naturally curious about things, and I most of the time do not take anything that anybody tells me as gospel. And not because I don't believe them, really, not because I don't believe them, but because I want to fully understand the big picture. I want to understand it at a really deep level, not a cursory, like perfunctory look. I want to know like what I know and understand it fully. I am a bit of a scientist at heart. I kind of want things to be proven, although I'm also a little bit intuitive, and I do go with my I will go with my heart and my gut a lot of the time as well, but that's really only after, especially in my career, 20 plus years of experience, right? So, I am the parent. I'm a nurse, right? I'm the parent of an autistic child. And there has been that debate swirling of, do vaccinations cause autism? And I've read the science. That was just, the whole thing is just tragic, right? The whole situation is tragic. And I really felt like I am never going to touch that. I made the choice when my kids were little that they would be vaccinated. And we did that. I did do a little bit of a different type of schedule. There was some things when my kids were babies that I was like hepatitis B. I mean, just my opinion on that. It's a bloodborne pathogen. Nobody in my family has hepatitis B. I felt really confident that they were not going to contract it as infants. So I waited. I waited, I don't even know how long I waited, maybe a year I waited, and they got them. We caught everybody up. I have a love-hate relationship with the flu shot, to be honest, because it doesn't always work, and that like really pisses me off. So, the flu shot I have to get now. It's mandated by work, and so I do. Sometimes I make different decisions for my family related to the flu. When Jeffrey was really little and he had asthma really bad, we all got the flu shot. It was a non-negotiable. He was definitely at risk. I try to make the best decision that I can as a nurse and as a mom. Which I think is the human condition, right? Like we all do the best we can with the information that we have at that moment. And when we know better, we do better. I also know that it's very, very easy, especially on social media, to be like, it's your fault, right? Oh, the finger pointing and the blame. And I've seen so many posts from friends that like people that I very much respect that are wanting to point the finger, you know, listen, vaccines don't cause autism, so go get your kids vaccinated because this is like the big debate. And I can't tell you how hurtful that is, because we don't know everything and we don't know people's experiences. And as a parent, it doesn't matter if the risk of something or anything is 1 in a million. If that thing happens to your child, that's the only statistic that matters. So I know people personally who brought their kids in to get their vaccinations, and they brought a different kid home. Some tragedy happened. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but to assume that they're wrong and that their life experience doesn't matter because we can't explain it isn't fair. It just isn't fair. Just like somebody who goes in for surgery, we sign a patient consent. There's so much we don't know. There's so many things. Every body, person, physiologically is different. And we don't understand everything. Science and medicine is continually evolving. And let me tell you, there are things that I did as a nurse 20 years ago in one of the most incredible intensive care units in the country. If I ever needed to go there, I would know they would take good care of me. And there are things that we did that were standards of care 20 years ago that were disproven by science, that we found were not as effective as we thought they were. Or they might have led to some morbidity and mortality, an increase in that, right? So the things that we believed that were like the gold standard in medicine, we disprove all the time. It doesn't mean that you throw the baby out with the bathwater. It doesn't mean that you never do those things. Evidence-based practice and evidence-based medicine is the best that we have for decision-making. Just is. That is the way it is. But science, I heard this from another practitioner, science does not equal truth. We disprove science all the time, right? All the time. And not just medicine, but all types of science, chemistry and biology and neuroscience. And like, there's so many things we don't understand, right? But we want to sit here and be like 100%, this is the truth, period, in all the things. And it really frustrates me because we point fingers and we blame when we really don't know. We act like we're sitting on the truth so we can point fingers and we can tell people what they need to do. And that's not fair. And so my personal family experience that brought the vaccination debate literally into my home is that we got swept up in the mumps outbreak. Our daughter is a freshman in college. She got the mumps from school. There's an outbreak on campus. Outbreaks happen a lot on college campuses. We're only hearing about it in the news because it is like the hot topic. But if you look, do a quick Google search, you can see there's mumps, specifically mumps outbreaks all the time, okay? But Megan got it. And I was like, what? I can't even imagine. I mean, she called me and she was nervous that she had it. And I totally blew her off. Totally. I was like, there is no way you have the mumps, you have been vaccinated. I totally dismissed it, right? Boom, I was proven wrong. She ended up with the mumps. I said, oh my gosh, she was home. I did all the right things. Isolated her for 5 days. That is what they recommend. Talked to the Department of Health like I was supposed to. We decided as a family, well, I'm the nurse, so I kind of decide medical stuff, but I said, let's get our titers drawn for the rest of us. To see where we are, see if we need to be boosted. Got that all done. None of us were immune to everything in the MMR. Megan and I were both still not immune to rubella. Now, mind you, I had another booster in nursing school, so I had 3 MMRs. But it was 20 plus years, so I was like, okay, immunity wanes, like, let's just see. So, but I was immune to the mumps by titer. I got the booster. The boys, my husband and the 2 boys, were not immune to mumps and rubella, so they got the booster. So we all got the booster, and Megan needed to get the booster. And even though she had the mumps, she had to get the booster because she wasn't immune to rubella, like me. So that made me super curious. We got the boosters. We got through Megan's mumps. She went back to school. The issue with mumps and what I'm learning about measles too is the incubation period is really long. So you have this like 2 or 3 week waiting to see if anybody's going to get it. Now, I was like, I'm immune. Great. Just got to keep an eye on my boys. But, you know, they got the booster. Like, we should be good. We did all the things that everybody recommended. And she was in isolation and wearing a mask if she was around us. And I mean, I know how to isolate a patient. I'm a nurse. I know how to do this. We have gloves. We have masks. We have things, right? And wouldn't you know that day 17 after Megan's exposure to my husband and my youngest son woke up with mumps. Okay, you could make the argument they had the booster, you know, it didn't have time to work, of course. And listen, even if you've gotten both of your MMR vaccines, it is only 88% effective. 88% effective is awesome, but it's also not 100%. You know, 12% on a college campus like Megan's is 40,000 kids. You know, 10% of those kids is 4,000 people plus that are at risk and maybe not immune, right? So there's going to be, and they haven't had anywhere near that many that have gotten it. I think it's in the 100s or something like that. I haven't seen it on the news lately. But I was like, okay, but 88% out of my family of 5. I don't even know what that is, right? Maybe one person should get it. So I honestly felt like, okay, it was probably Megan. She drew the short straw. Poor girl. We're just going to move on. No, Dan and Christian wake up with it. So luckily, I am on a first name basis with the nurse down at the Department of Health, called her right away, said, okay, this is what I think I'm looking at. She confirmed. She said, you just got to, you know, isolation for 5 days. You guys just got to ride this out. That's all you can do. It's viral. Okay, fine. I knew what to do. At least I knew what to do. Soft foods, because it makes it difficult to chew. More annoying than anything else. We didn't feel worse than that. We didn't get the fever and the chills and the stuff that some, you know, they'll tell you are signs of the mumps, probably because we were vaccinated. So they had milder. Megan was really miserable, but the boys seemed to have a more mild course. And so, but what we had to do, because Dan's a teacher and my son goes to school, is we had to notify, of course, the nurse, the school district, all that stuff. So a letter goes out from the school district that, you know, there's a child at the school, you know, with the mumps. I cannot even tell you, I had a difficult time going on social media, at least in the groups for my community, for the school district in my community. The level of judgment and opinions and ignorance was astounding. Like my heart's starting to beat really fast right now because it is so disturbing what we had to go through. And people didn't know it was us. There are some, we had to tell friends. My neighbors were wonderful. Listen, we have a great community of people, but it was really shocking to see who wasn't in our corner and who was really quick to judge. And I even had colleagues of mine that assumed I did not vaccinate my children. What? Okay. Because you know what, guys? It is so much easier to judge somebody else and assume they made a wrong choice, the bad choice, than to realize that you're at risk. To realize that you don't maybe understand and have all of the information that you need to make good choices. And what I have learned is that we all accept the risk of the flu vaccine. We accept the fact that the scientists may have gotten it wrong. There's a chance we'll get it anyway if we get the strain that they didn't choose, or it's only 80% effective or 60% effective. It's on the news, right? We accept that risk. What we don't accept, and I didn't realize as well, is that these diseases are not eradicated. They're here. Mumps are here, measles are here, other countries, you know, in people who are immunocompromised, I don't know, but they're here. They haven't been eradicated. And if the vaccines are not 100% effective, which even the measles part of the MMR is 96% effective after 2, mumps is 88% effective. Rubella, I don't know, I'd have to look it up because out of all 5 of us, none of us were immune to it. So I don't know. But it begs the question, why are we not asking better questions of the CDC, the Department of Health? Why are we not saying, like, what is going on? What's the full picture? We all want to point the finger. We want to be like, thanks, anti-vaxxers. It's all your fault. But I'll tell you, I know a lot about the outbreak at Temple, and almost everybody was vaccinated. I cannot say 100% because I am not there, but they were vaccinated. So what does that mean? That means we can't point the finger. And our community was so quick to judge and so quick to point the finger and assume. And it was so disheartening. I can't even tell you. It was so disheartening that I had to protect my family. I had to get defensive in the middle of caring for people who were not feeling well. I had to get defensive to be like, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Like, why? Why do I have to be defensive like that? Why are we pointing fingers? Because then what happens is you're in or you're out club, and then nobody can have an educated conversation so that we can learn. And here's the kicker. I woke up with mumps. 3 days later, I was immune by titer. Remember that blood work I had done? I was immune. I got the mumps anyway. I literally lost my mind. I called the Department of Health nurse and I said, this is craziness. This is absolute craziness. What is happening? And she said, and I just read another article, I'm going to link some stuff here, that they are learning in the trenches now. We don't know what we don't know. And now they're learning. And she said, there's so many things. I mean, and this is what she said to me. She said, we assume what we think is how you catch the mumps, like close contact. She said, but clearly you know how to isolate your daughter and your family. So, I did all the things right, you would assume, right? So we should have been protected. But maybe it's spread easier than we think it is. Like, we don't know. I mean, this was the conversation with her. And here was another thing that was frustrating. And they were very helpful. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. Okay, that's where we are. But I even asked, I said, before you send that letter to the school district, because I knew people were going to freak out and we were going to be the targets of the freak out, because it's so much easier to blame another person than realize you're at risk. I get it. We're human. But it's still not easy to go through. And then, I asked her, could you please put the truth in the letter that says that he was vaccinated? Because that's the truth. It's not a lie. And she said no. They will not put that in the letter because it could give the anti-vax movement some fodder, some assistance. So they wouldn't protect my family by saying that we did the right things, okay? They wouldn't protect my family. So I had to protect my family. And I'm the one that has to defend my family, even though I did all the right things. That does not sit well with me, because that's not the full truth. And that leads to a lot of blame, which is exactly what it did, a lot of pointing fingers, a lot of assumptions. And that puts us in the situation where it is us versus them. And if we're having a resurgence of these diseases that we thought were gone, the last thing we want to be is choosing sides. The last thing we want to do is not be listening to each other, because the only way that we can get through this is to create more knowledge and ask really good questions, scientific questions, and put some pressure on the CDC or our government to say, let's research this. The bottom line is people get hurt from vaccines. And we probably don't understand why or how or the mechanism. But for us to sit there from our high horse because our kids are fine and say, get them anyway, right? But you've got these families who have been devastated by vaccine injuries. That is super short-sighted. Like, let's have a conversation and let's figure out if maybe there's this group of kids or something that's saying, hey, these kids don't do well with vaccines, and why? Like, what is it in their body physiologically? Is there a gene? Is there a this? There's so much we don't know. But if we shut down the conversation and make it an us versus them, Nobody wins. Nobody wins. And I feel really, really bad for those families who do the right thing or think they're doing the right thing and maybe ended up like us and like shit happens. I'm sorry, I cursed. Like maybe ended up where we are, but don't have enough courage to like come out and say it like it is. I want there to be better questions asked, and I want there to be more research done. And I want us to really figure this out and not take it for granted like those diseases are eradicated. Because they're not, guys. They're here. And I'm going to post some articles. I have been amassing information because I find it really fascinating. And if you'd like to educate yourself, you know, please read what I'm going to post. And it's not inflammatory, and it's not, I'm not choosing between vaccinations and anti-vax. I am really not. What I am a proponent for is choice and conversation and asking really good questions and getting educated, because that's what you have to do. And you have to make decisions for your family that are right for your family, not right for my family, not right for somebody else's family, but right for your family. And you've got to educate yourself. And I didn't know. And even, you know, with the whole mumps outbreak on campus, if I had known that my daughter was at as much risk as she was, I would have had a different conversation with her, because my conversation was, you've been vaccinated. You're totally fine. Done. That was it. No, like what I know now is I would have said, girlfriend, you got to wash your hands. If somebody sneezes on you in class, make sure you're like, don't touch doorknobs, grab a tissue, touch it first, like be careful. Don't share your drink with somebody. You know, don't do those things that put you at risk. But my conversation, the entirety of my conversation was, you're fine, you're vaccinated, which was not the case. 4 out of 5 of my family has now had the mumps. I'm also here to tell you, don't freak out. It really wasn't that bad. It was annoying. I got to eat chocolate pudding. Not so bad. Sit in my bed, be on isolation, right? I mean, there's worse things in the world, and I'm sure it was worse years and years ago. But now we're back in this waiting period for the one family member that didn't get it. We're in that 2 to 3 week point right now, incubation time. I don't know if he'll end up getting it. We did all the right things. He very well may wake up at any moment. And then guess what? Another note will go out to the school district, and people will lose their minds because they're not willing to listen, and they're ready to pass judgment and ready to blame somebody else. I get it. Fine, whatever. I'm stronger than that. But we need to be asking more questions. 4 out of 5 of my family who was vaccinated got the mumps. That really makes me question how much we know. And maybe genetically, my family, there's something that we just don't create immunity like everybody else does. I don't know. I have so many questions. But I'm not blaming, and I'm not pointing the finger. And I don't think that anybody else should be either. So anyway, that's my rant. I feel like we need to talk about these things. And it's okay if you don't agree with me as well. So, but I'll just post some stuff for you guys to read. And I hope that this helps you to think more critically about some of these issues. Bye.